Welcome back to the Writers Roundtable. Matt, we had the combine. We had the franchise tags. We've got quarterback drama. It's going to be a great episode. Who do we have on the show tonight?
Tonight we have, you see his pretty face every day on the Player Profiler YouTube channel. I'm so excited I can hardly get the words out. It's Jack Cavanagh. And we have the prop master. He's back. Aahaan Rungta. It's going to be a loaded show for you tonight.
All right. The Writers Roundtable starts right now. Boom. And that is how it's done. Welcome, gentlemen. How are we doing tonight?
Fantastic. So professional. You've really dialed it in. I am more than impressed and excited to be back.
I'm very happy to be here with the new layout that Aaron has gifted us with, looking absolutely stellar. I'm excited.
I love that headband too, Ahaan.
Much appreciated, Jack. Thank you.
Full disclosure, I got really lucky. I had a 50% chance of getting that right because I knew Matt and I were going to be good, but then I added Jack. I didn't know whether to add Jack first or Ahaan first, but it worked out. So here we are. It works, man. Here, and this is how the sausage is made here at playerprofiler.com. All right, let's kick this off, shall we? We had a lot of news. We had a lot of happenings around the league. But we had the combine, right? And Cody, boots on the ground at the combine, some of the best coverage you'll see out there. I think maybe even the best coverage of the combine out there. So Ahaan, what was your biggest takeaway from the NFL combine?
Well, my biggest takeaway is that this class is going to be extremely confusing to judge. And until we get breakout finder scores, which are on the way from our very own Dario of Analytics, until we get those breakout finders, I'm not super confident about any offensive player. And that includes Bijan Robinson, who probably got his fantasy stock reduced a little bit, specifically in Superflex leagues, where I'm seeing a lot of Anthony Richardson going 101 overall over Bijan Robinson. I think all of us at Player Profiler a little high on Roshan, so it was good to see him do well at the combine. But specifically the receivers, it's a completely different class than the one we saw last year, where last year we kind of knew that there were multiple players with stud potential like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. I know Cody Carpentier and I were tooting the Chris Olave horn for a long time, and I know we'll talk about Chris Olave some more today. Chris Olave was many people's wide receiver 5 of that class, and that just goes to show you how deep that class was. And we can't expect the same out of this one, but there are a lot of solid players. For example, Josh Downs has basically no athletic profile compared to a bunch of others in this class, but he's a solid route runner at UNC, and athleticism is not really his game. He gets open and he can play the slot, and depending on landing spot, I love Josh Downs in best ball drafts. So it's going to be a confusing draft. And I specifically love cornerbacks in this draft, which is weird for me to say because I love the receiver position and the running back position. Joey Porter Jr., by the way, that's going to be the name to look out for. Whoever gets him is going to be super lucky. There was one question about him, which was his speed, and he answered that at the combine. So interesting class to say the least. No bulletin board material until we get breakout finder ratings.
What were your thoughts on the combine, Jack?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Just every position had so many freaks, just freak after freak. We started with the defensive linemen, and we have Nolan Smith and Adetomiwa Adebaware, just freaks. And then we go to day 2, like Ahaan said, the cornerback class. It's not even just Joey Porter. There's Christian Gonzalez, there's Julius Brents, just freaks. And then we go to the quarterback class. The freakiest of them all is, of course, Anthony Richardson. But then we also have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who has elite athleticism. I know people are going to say he didn't run the 40. How can he be an elite athlete? Did you watch the 3-cone? Did you watch the 20-yard shuttle? You should not physically be able to get a sub-4 20-yard shuttle, and Jackson Smith-Njigba did. That is my biggest takeaway. He was, and will remain the wide receiver 1. As for risers, Anthony Richardson, that's the obvious one. He made himself some money. The low-key name, though, for me was Evan Hull from Northwestern, the running back, because he had some great athletic testing, but more importantly, I think, like the athletic testing was great, don't get me wrong, but even more importantly was every single rep was to the end zone. After the first 40, runs all the way to the end zone. After the second 40, all the way to the end zone. After every single rep and every single drill, Evan Hull all the way to the end zone. And you know that's going to resonate with these coaches around the NFL.
Love the Evan Hull take. He was my biggest takeaway from this combine as well. I think it's interesting. I think he's going to be a big riser here. And he was talked about on the Mind to Mansion podcast earlier today. So Kendre Miller didn't really test. Tajay Spears didn't fully test. Zach Evans didn't test. Tank Bigsby didn't test very well at all. And he tested very closely, but a little bit better than Zach Charbonnet. So Evan Hull, I think seventh out of 18 at an athleticism score in his class. He made himself look really good in a combine where a lot of running backs that are in between Hull in that upper echelon did not make themselves look very good in the combine. And so Evan Hull made himself a lot of cash. Really, I think there's going to be some Big Ten players that are going to be sleepers making some cash. We heard Trey Palmer being discussed earlier today as well. He's got a freak athletic profile, 4.33, 88th percentile speed score, 93rd percentile college dominator rating, and 96th percentile college target share. He's a freak at 6 foot 192. He's going to be that early day two receiver that really surprises everyone come early season. And unfortunately, my Kayshon Boot takes are now Kayshon Booty, because that man ran, in terms of 40-yard dash time, about twice as slow as he said he was going to run. And that was the one thing that was holding his draft stock up after his senior season. So Kayshon Booty's draft stock is way down after this combine, in my opinion.
How the hell do you go out there as an agent and allow your client to jump a 29 vertical? That's embarrassing.
I don't know if just a bad day, maybe the nerves of the combine and the pressure of starting your day early with a bunch of interviews, and then by the time you actually go. But if he doesn't do something a lot better at the pro day, he's toast. He's got to make up for this.
Yeah. If you haven't, I feel like I say this every show, like go check out the Mind of Mansion. Watch this show first, but if you didn't see the Mind of Mansion today with Cody, it was unbelievable. Great insight on the combine. And I want to say this, though. I think like the combine, it's great. It gives us a ton of actionable information. Cody's great with it, but it is a one piece of the evaluation, right? It's a big piece, like for us, especially because the metrics, the measurables, super important. Don't get me wrong. But am I crazy? And you guys might think I'm crazy because I know we're high on Anthony Richardson, right? But I just, doing some preliminary research, and this might be an easy take, but 53% completion percentage in his last year at college, right? So I think 17 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Should we be worried about the inaccuracy, or if you're an NFL team, are you just going to bet on that athleticism, go big or go home, baby? Is that kind of what the approach NFL teams should take? And if they're going to draft Anthony Richardson high, like they probably will, right? Because I think Cody had him mocked to the Panthers. The Panthers are going to trade up for him at the number 5 spot in his mock draft. Is that concerning to you guys, or what do you guys think, Jack and Ahaan and Matt?
We're going to see the NFL community make that decision for us. And we know that based on Trey Lance, we're going to see him drafted early. It's just going to happen. NFL teams love to bet on tools. They love these traitsy guys. They love athleticism. And so, yeah, it's a risk, but Trey Lance was also a risk. Lamar Jackson, less of a risk because he went so much later in the draft, but these risks happen. The NFL is embracing them. And so, yeah, it's a risk taking Anthony Richardson over Bijan Robinson, but it's also a risk taking Bryce Young because he weighs 205 pounds. He doesn't. He weighs 186. Yeah. All these guys, CJ Stroud, I don't know if there's really much risk in him, but in fantasy, there's a risk in him not hitting the upside. Will Levis has the same risk as Anthony Richardson as not hitting. So when everyone carries risk in terms of fantasy football, CJ Stroud more solid as an actual prospect, but still, when there's all those risks, bet on the traits, and Anthony Richardson has that in spades.
And I think something in common with some of those names you mentioned in Anthony Richardson is I think we should agree that Anthony Richardson probably needs to at least sit for a year and learn. And
maybe two.
Maybe two. And the Detroit Lions are a name that's coming up a lot. And I know, Jack, you'll probably have thoughts on Anthony Richardson to the Lions. Cody Carpentier in his latest mock has Anthony Richardson going number 5 to the Panthers, and that scares me because I think he starts year 1 if that's the case, and I don't want to see that. I want to see him sit and learn. And it ties right into Stuart Durst in the chat. That's my boy right there. He says, who has a better QB career, Anthony Richardson, Terrell Pryor, Brad Smith, or Reggie McNeil?
Oh,
Anthony.
That's disrespectful.
Yeah, we gotta at least put him in the Trey Lance conversation.
I think there's something to be said about the Florida Gators roster in 2022 as well. You go take a look at that roster. I just pulled it up. I don't recognize any of these names as a receiver. They're 577 yards was their highest grossing receiver, and it's Justin Shorter. I certainly don't know who that is. So I know the combine, they're throwing routes on air. These are throws that any quarterback worth their salt should be able to make. But there's something to be said that Anthony Richardson stepped up in these quarterback throwing drills and performed just as well, if not better, than CJ Stroud on a lot of the deep balls. His deep ball looked pretty damn incredible. He had the touch on it. He was hitting the receivers in stride. I'm not saying he's going to step in and I think he needs to sit as well. But I think just evaluating his senior season from the 55% completion percentage could be a little short-sighted. I think if we evaluated Lamar in the NFL with the same kind of attitude, we'd come away with an incorrect take when that team is set up to be incredibly run heavy and lacks the positional depth on the outside to really sustain a passing offense.
All right, more takeaways from Cody's mock draft, which you should definitely check out. Not now, after the show. Cody's mock draft. Jackson Smith and Jigba, wide receiver 3 off the board at pick number 22. You guys want to guess who wide receiver 1 and 2 are? Or
it wouldn't be a guess because I've seen it.
You've already
listened to the Mind of Mansion, so I know who number 1 is for sure, and number 3. So,
all right. So Jordan Addison, number 1. And my guy, Zay Flowers at wide receiver 2.
Well, that would make ASN wide receiver 4 then, because Quentin Johnson's at 18 to the Detroit Lions. That's who I was going with.
Oh, then he's wide receiver 4. Then I must have misread that. Yeah, that's my fault. So he's wide receiver 4 then. Even bigger takeaway from that. And Cody, like we said, boots on the ground right there. He's got the he's listening to all these NFL player or personnel guys. So another takeaway, 4 tight ends drafted in round 2. I think that's going to be significant for fantasy. And Zach Charbonnet drafted in Cody's mock draft is going to go in round 2. Devin A-Chain going in early round 3 as your RB 3 and 4. And if you want to know where Bijan's going, go read it. I'm not going to tell you, but he may be in round 1.
Are we not going to get a comment from a certain someone in this room about a certain tight end going to the Dolphins in this mock draft?
No.
Okay.
We will not, because I think it's very realistic. Look, just because if it pushes Mike Gesicki out of Miami, then I'm happy. But we have some more important things on the agenda as much as I would love to run away with this topic. I mentioned Lamar Jackson. Oh, hey, Harry Snowman. He
Mr.
makes another
Snowman is in the
appearance.
chat.
As always, we love to have you here in the chat. So it's time we address the elephant in the room. Lamar Jackson was franchise tagged. It's the non-exclusive franchise tag, meaning he can go and he can seek another contract with suitors. And if someone's willing to pay up, they will send 2 first-round picks over to the Baltimore Ravens if they are not willing to match. Things are getting tense. It's getting weird. What do we make of this situation, Jack? And where will Lamar Jackson end up? I think I know the answer to that second question.
Well, what do we make of it? First of all, I think that the Baltimore Ravens made a mistake because some other team is going to go out there. And I understand the logic of being able to say, well, if we put Lamar Jackson out there, he can negotiate with other teams. They can do the contract for us. That's a big risk that the Baltimore Ravens take. And I don't think they're going to be able to make it pay off because some team like the Atlanta Falcons, like the Raiders, like a lot of these other teams, maybe not the Raiders because Mark Davis is poor, but some other team is going to be able to say, hey, we've got the money right now to put a poison pill contract together. You cannot match it, Baltimore Ravens. You literally cannot. So thank you for Lamar Jackson. We'll be taking him now. And there's a bunch of different potential options. Atlanta Falcons is the ones that I've been saying for a while. They say they're out. I don't believe them. I don't believe many of these teams are out. I think the Panthers might actually be because I think they're going to try and trade up in the draft. But most teams that say they're out, I don't believe it. I want it to be the Detroit Lions. I would be so thrilled if Anthony Richardson, or not if Anthony Richardson, if Anthony Richardson also went to the Lions, but if they got Lamar Jackson, would love it. But the one I'm hearing a little bit now is a potential that the Washington Commanders could end up making a move for Lamar Jackson because Dan Snyder's on his way out. And he doesn't like the rest of the owners because they're kind of forcing him out. It's his decision to sell the team, but it's not. He was going to get kicked out if not. So wouldn't it be just one great last screw you to my former colleagues to say, hey, here's a fully guaranteed contract for another quarterback. Good luck. I'm out.
And for what it's worth, on to close the book on the whole Anthony Richardson thing, like I do not think Anthony Richardson is on the level of prime Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson. Like in case that was not clear, but some line reading on if you go on the sports books and you check out the division winner odds right now. The Kansas City Chiefs are obviously minus 155 to win the division. They're the clear chalk. There's one other team that's similar chalk, minus 155 is the 49ers. You know who's damn near even money to win the division? It's the Detroit Lions at plus 145, with the Vikings at plus 280, the Packers at plus 340, and the Bears at plus 420.
Woo!
First of all, I'll put that out there.
The Bears are at plus 420, Seth, just to get this out of the way. The Bears are at plus 420 because you are, as Stephen A. Smith would say, on the weed. If you think the Chicago Bears are going to be competing for the conference title this year, division title this year.
NFC North?
Seth,
just NFC North?
It runs through Detroit.
We got a shot, baby. We got a shot.
Seth, if you bet the Bears at plus 420, I will
smoke
fly
them if you got them.
I will fly over to Kansas City to clock you in the face. Don't bet that at plus 420. Anyway, so speaking of Lamar Jackson, the Commanders plus 1,000 to win their division. Obviously, competitive division between the Eagles and the Cowboys, but that line has not moved in a while. And I genuinely think if Vegas felt something about Lamar Jackson to Washington picking up steam, that line would have at least moved. So I'm not buying into the Washington rumors right now, and I'll use this as my chance to make my final call. Lamar Jackson is going to the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are not drafting Anthony Richardson. They're going to pay up for Lamar Jackson instead of spending the offseason fixing their defense. And what that means for Lamar Jackson, I don't know yet, but if he goes to the Detroit Lions, it's a very attractive fantasy situation. I know that, not just with a bunch of receivers there, but assuming their defense, suddenly doesn't become top 5 in the NFL, I would love Lamar Jackson in some shootouts for best ball. The last time Lamar Jackson played at least 15 games in a season was 2020, and in that season he was a fantasy quarterback 8. And the whole steam around, well, Lamar Jackson, he has a lot of good qualities around him, but he's not accurate. Like, we can stop with that. He was number 2 in red zone accuracy, number 8 in deep ball accuracy. Sure, it's somewhat of a wide receiver stat there, but still. Number 5 in accuracy rating under pressure, number 4 in a catchable pass rate under pressure, and he would get the best weapons he's had in his entire career if he went to the Detroit Lions. So that's my final call.
Well, and just to piggyback on that, they would get to keep the 6th overall pick too. The Detroit Lions would, because they'd give up their own at 18. They'd give up next year's pick. So it could be another weapon. It could be a defensive player. So yes, Ahaan, love it. Absolutely love it.
So I think both of those are actually good for Detroit. I think it would be a cool thing if they got Anthony Richardson. I actually think that's the perfect spot for Richardson to go because he can play behind Goff. There's no real rush to put him in there. He can develop. And then, a year down the road, then it's Anthony Richardson's show with a team that's super talented. And by the way, you got a quarterback that's like got a year under his belt learning, and he's on that rookie deal that every NFL team wants their quarterback to be on because they can build around him that way. Lamar would be great too. And I think Jack makes a good point because I think a lot of people assume that the Lions they're going to have to give up their 2 top picks, right? No, they don't have to do that either to get Lamar. So I think either option is really good for the Lions. I think the Lions are in a really, really good spot. So I actually think there's some value in the Lions winning the division, to be honest with you, because I think they're going to, like I said, Joanna Gaines and Chip are going to flip. The Lions and the Bears are going to flip that division. I had to throw that in there again for like the 4th time in 4 shows consecutively. But let me throw a monkey wrench into this whole thing. And I hope this doesn't just upset what Matt is going to say. I hope
it better not. I've been preparing for this.
What if the Ravens get those 2 first rounders, right? And they have their own first rounder, and they have their own first rounder next year. If that's speaking from the Ravens side of it, their plan would have to be to draft a quarterback, right? So this would put them in contention for a top 10 to trade up, right? Because what else would be their plan? To sign Jimmy Garoppolo? Aaron Rodgers?
They've got a Pro Bowl quarterback on their roster right now. No, it's not Lamar Jackson. It's Tyler Huntley.
So you think they would stick with Huntley and they just roll with Huntley?
Another
Huntley
team.
Okay.
Huntley and a rookie, I mean.
Another team bordering on contention for a Super Bowl with a major QB upgrade just signed a quarterback to a 3-year deal where his value is right around Lamar Jackson's current value under the non-exclusive franchise tag. That would be Geno Smith on the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah. So
why not? Baltimore gets to live the fantasy of we can still contend for a Super Bowl with this roster and pay a quarterback cheaply, and Seattle gets to go all in with Lamar, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Kenneth Walker. Who wouldn't love to see that?
Yeah. So what I was saying is, could Baltimore become this team? But if, Tyler Huntley and maybe they draft a rookie later in the draft, I don't know, maybe a Stetson Bennett type later on in the draft, and they could just roll with Huntley and Stetson Bennett, right? I don't know. Like what would their plan be at quarterback? I'd be intrigued to know, because I think they should re-sign Lamar. I think they're crazy for not wanting to bring him back. I mean, what you have. Your offense is kind of tailored around the guy. So I don't know. He is 1-3 in the playoffs, so maybe that's what is driving all this. But me personally, if I'm the GM, if I'm Eric DeCosta, I got to bring him back. But I'm interested to hear what Matt Babich.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm glad you mentioned that name, because you should be glad that you're not Eric DeCosta. Because I've prepared a message for Eric DeCosta in the Ravens front office, and I will start this with 2 simple questions. How dare you? How can you sleep at night? You were gifted a human joystick, a generational talent. And not only did you waste the last 5 seasons of the Baltimore Ravens franchise Now you're taking the coward's way out and waving the white flag of the Lamar Jackson era. You lowballed him time and time and again. You refused to properly address the offensive roster holes, trading away Marquise Hollywood Brown and treating players' health like it's a game of Madden. You refuse to give him a fully guaranteed deal because of his injury concerns and his lack of availability. Try investing in a competent training staff. Maybe that'll get your players on the field. You know who doesn't have these problems? Well, good franchises. You know what I mean? You're not getting your franchise running back tearing his ACL, coming back early, and then having knee surgery again that same season to clean it up and saying, it still doesn't really feel right. It's really swollen, but I'm out here running 22 times. That's not good. You aren't a competent organization. You've ruined a chance that many franchises wait a decade to get. And you're just going to toss Lamar out. And it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter what you do. You could try to match an offer sheet. He's going to sit. He's going to demand to leave. This relationship has to be beyond repair. They have disrespected him time and time and time and again. Someone is going to pay the piper and turn that man into a Super Bowl champion.
Love that. Love the fire. And just to continue with this, remember when Ozzie Newsome decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to do one last draft. I'm going to walk away and just leave y'all with a future. And he just thought, hey, I'm going to give you the going away present of Lamar Jackson. And now Lamar Jackson's going to go away. And I'm glad you brought up Hollywood Brown too, because you keep hearing, oh, well, no team has invested more in wide receiver these past couple years. Yeah, well, Hollywood Brown's one and you traded him. Miles Boykin's another, and you cut him before the 4th year of his deal. Kylan Wallace doesn't have a knee. James Prochet you hate and you refuse to play. So you got Duvernay and you got Bateman. I'll give you credit for 2 of those guys. You don't get credit for the rest. You could have had credit for Hollywood if you didn't piss him off and force him to leave.
Yeah, congrats. You have a worse hit rate on wide receivers in the draft than Bill Belichick. Hang that plaque on your wall.
I think Rashad Bateman agrees because I'm going to share this and if I can figure out the technology on the Twitter, right? Here's Rashad Bateman. I hope y'all can see that, right? So it's a little weird with our overlay. So I apologize. I should have got rid of that. I think I can
take it down.
Yeah, I can. Hold on. There we go. So there's Rashad Bateman on Twitter, right? So yeah, not a great situation. And Matt, I think, articulated it very well. I mean, they have missed on wide receiver more than they've hit, and they've traded away players like Orlando Brown. Remember, to the Chiefs back when they traded away because he did want to play left tackle, but still, you're trading away key players, and you're not really hitting on some of these draft picks, and it's not a great situation there.
Replacing him with Alejandro Villanueva, who is just an absolute turnstile. And
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of paying Orlando Brown, but you didn't replace him. This is just what the Ravens do. Oh, but no, it's Lamar. Lamar doesn't want to play for us. He's actually healthy. He just doesn't want to play. Ronnie Stanley's actually healthy. He just doesn't want to play. Derek Wolfe is actually healthy. He just doesn't want to play.
Harry Snowman disagrees, I think, but it's okay. We still love you, Harry Snowman.
What wide receiver did Jackson make look better? Marquise Brown.
Marquise Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
And Rashad Bateman a little bit.
We
Devin
got Stewart in the chat.
I mean, Sammy Watkins looked pretty good for a period.
DeMarcus Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah, DeMarcus Robinson.
Isaiah Likely.
Yeah. No,
Isaiah not even close to a 6.0 RAS score at tight end, likely, by the way.
Soon to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, Khalif Raymond, DJ Chark, Jameson
Also,
Williams.
Who was it that said Levis? Oh, Harry Snowman said, I would honestly love to see Levis in Detroit. If that happens, you're going to go to underdog and you're going to draft Jameson Williams until your money runs out.
There it is. Yeah. And somebody already got a lot of Anthony Richardson in early drafts. I think his ADP is probably going to go up, don't you?
More likely.
Yeah, even though he might not start in year one. But anyway, nevertheless, I'm a genius. No, I'm not. Franchise tag. The franchise tag, a lot of players, key players in fantasy football were franchise tagged, including Lamar, including Saquon Barkley. So Ahaan, what's your reaction to some of this franchise tag news? And was there anybody that you were shocked did not get franchise tagged?
Well, the franchise tag for Saquon Barkley didn't necessarily surprise me, but couple that along with what they did do, which was throw Daniel Jones everything, was interesting to me. And not because I don't love Daniel Jones. I was very ahead of the Daniel Jones bandwagon, but it's because the Giants are valuing what it takes to keep a starter in this league, someone that played like a top 10 to 12 quarterback last year. And they want to keep him around. I'm not too surprised by that. Now, Saquon did say at the end of last year that, I know where I stand. I don't stay on the field very often. He basically just said, like, I understand my value and I realize that chasing a bag is maybe not the best if I want to stay here. So it'll be interesting to see what pans out, what happens there. Not too many people got franchise tagged. It was Lamar, Tony Pollard, Evan Engram, Josh Jacobs, Saquon, and Daron Payne of the Commanders.
Yep.
And
Yep.
the only situation that really confuses me is Josh Jacobs. I was so convinced that Josh Jacobs is going somewhere else, and he still might be, but I guess he's not. I don't know. I thought he was very clearly just out of there, and I was getting ready to, draft some Zamir White, but I really just want to hear other people's opinions on Josh Jacobs because I don't know what to think of him.
See, we saw this coming about a week or two in advance. It sounded like the Raiders were going to do it. So I wouldn't say I was surprised by this or any other moves. I could see them all coming, but I just don't really get franchising Josh Jacobs. I don't really get franchising Tony Pollard. As much as I love Tony Pollard, as much as I love Josh Jacobs, it's the running back position. And $10 million, that's not crazy expensive for the franchise tag, but that's still a lot of money when we've seen all of the minimum contracts from 4th, 5th rounders, Damian Pierce, Elijah Mitchell the past 2 years. So that just makes it confusing. I know these teams want to keep their guys. They like Josh Jacobs. They like Tony Pollard, but paying currently $26 million for the running back position for the Dallas Cowboys won't happen with Zeke, but you're going from one expensive running back to potentially another or two expensive running backs if you keep Zeke. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I think the Jacobs one, which I agree, I don't necessarily get. I thought he was gone value-wise. You don't want to be spending that kind of money on a running back, but when you consider that Jacobs was pretty much the most productive overall running back last year, and they're making a push most likely for Aaron Rodgers right now. So I think it makes sense for them to say, look, we're going to pay him $2 million more than we would have if we picked up the 5th-year option. And now we can go to Aaron and say, look, we are fully invested in putting together the most powerful offense for you that we possibly can. And to me, maybe that's not their process, but to me, that's the only way I can make it turn into worthwhile logic. So if this does work, if this is a pitch for Aaron Rodgers and it works, I think that works out for Vegas. But if not, I think they kind of just sunk a bunch of money in and now they're kind of committed to Jimmy Garoppolo next season.
At least they can afford it, though.
Yeah.
That's the one thing they'll get. The Cowboys can't afford Tony Pollard.
Cowboys can't afford Tony Pollard unless they get rid of Zeke. And then it's essentially a wash then, right?
Well, it's an upgrade, but still, it's it's just, why tag a running back? Why do it?
If tagging a running back to get Aaron Rodgers, I know we'll talk more about him, but to get Aaron Rodgers on a team that is coached by Josh McDaniels and still has one of the worst defenses in the NFL, if that's the direction you want to take your franchise, I tip my cap to you and say good luck.
Hey, I'm not saying they're smart. I'm just saying that might be the only thing that I can wrap my head around this and make it all make sense.
We've seen people do crazier things to get Aaron Rodgers, like signing Nathaniel Hackett to be their offensive coordinator or head coach too.
What do we think about the Pollard situation if Zeke gets cut June 1st and Tony Pollard gets an extension that appears to be at least, kind of team friendly?
I mean, to the moon. I think I love
Tony
Tony
Pollard's
Pollard's.
either way.
Yeah, I mean,
Not Tony Pollard, but we're talking about why would you tag a running back? So do we still question the move from Dallas's perspective if they part ways with Zeke and get a deal done with Tony Pollard to keep him around?
If they get a deal done, fine. I can understand that.
Right.
That's where I'll concede. And same with Saquon Barkley. At least I understand tagging him. No one's taking a shot at that because it's Saquon Barkley. He's the tag. He is the guy you use a tag on. But okay, I'll give you that. If they sign Tony Pollard, I'll forgive it. But it has to be a good contract too, because we've seen so many bloated running back contracts too.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I wrote up a quick free for franchise tag deadline wrap up, and essentially my conclusion on the Cowboy situation was if they do what I just described, it was a good move in my eyes. If they do anything else, it was a bad move. And I do expect deals to get done for Pollard and especially Saquon Barkley, but Jacobs is the one guy that you're not getting an extension done. Oh man, they're going to give him like a Zeke level extension, aren't they? They're just going to pay him.
And that's exactly why I cringe every time we talk about paying this running back, paying that running back. Is I know, like Jack said, like I understand it if that's how it plays out and they get a deal done with Tony Pollard. But at the same time, I try to think from the perspective of how a team should be run, which is essentially the way the Chiefs run it if you take out drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round. You find running backs that are good at very particular things. You run a committee all season. You focus on the other positions. But I'm not maybe I'm holding the Cowboys to a standard too high.
Well, the Raiders are just such a weird, like Derek Carr, they don't get anything for him, right? They got to cut him. They traded 2 first-round picks for Devontae Adams the year before, previously, like the last year. Now they tag Josh Jacobs. I'm just trying to figure out like what the plan is here. Is it like you're stuck in this weird spot where you don't have a quarterback now because Derek Carr's gone. You're bringing back your running back. Okay, Josh Jacobs was great last year. I get it.
Still don't have a line.
Yeah, your line's not good. Your defense is not good. I know you got some cap space, and you got a top 10 pick. But is the plan to draft a rookie quarterback? Because I don't know. Because if you go and trade for Aaron Rodgers, bye cap space, potentially buy to a first round pick. If that's the price for Aaron Rodgers, I think that's crazy. So I don't know. I think they should probably draft a quarterback or sign Jimmy. I wouldn't trade for Aaron Rodgers, but I just don't know what the Raiders like. What's the plan here, guys? Like, can we I don't know. I feel like there's one guy coming in and running it and being like, oh, maybe this is a good idea. And then I just don't see any continuity here. I don't know. I just don't get it, but
I think it's probably because that organization went from John Gruden / Mike Mayock to Josh McDaniels. And I mean, it's like going from the 32nd worst ran organization to the 32nd worst ran organization. Like you're filling the room with just a bunch of airheads. I said it when Josh McDaniels, a couple years before Josh McDaniels left the Patriots, I was not really interested in him coaching that team. I think he's a fine offensive coordinator when under the leadership of a head coach that knows how to lead men. Josh McDaniels doesn't really know how to lead men. And so, yeah, the organization is just lost. But we saw Derek Carr. He is now leaving. He got a deal with the New Orleans Saints. So we'll start with Jack. Let's break down this Derek Carr deal to the Saints and talk about what that means for him, for the Saints, for the NFL in general.
Well, for starters, it means good things for Chris Olave. He gets an upgrade at quarterback, and we love Chris Olave, so we're excited to see that. For Derek Carr, it means he gets to stay as a starting quarterback in the NFL and another team that wears black. And for the Saints, it means that they're going to continue to tread water and pretend they're a competitor when they're not. They haven't been for years. And at least I understood it when it was Drew Brees. I understood it when it was Ben Roethlisberger. I understand when you've got a Hall of Fame quarterback and you say, you know what? We're just going to go all in. Every year that they're around, we're going to go all in because we have to rebuild after. We have to restart. Tampa Bay did it with Tom Brady. They're restarting. But the Saints just refuse to. And now with Derek Carr, they still have no cap space. It's still cap hell. And at some point, yeah, you got to pay the piper. I know you can keep kicking it down. You can keep restructuring. But when you're doing that for Derek Carr, when you're kicking the can down the road for Derek Carr with an offensive line that has deteriorated over the past couple years, with potentially Michael Thomas coming back now, that'll be interesting. So the pass catchers aren't terrible, but the defense is aging. You had to get rid of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to exist, to be able to afford your season. So I don't get it. I don't get why the Saints aren't willing to just say, hey, this is our reset year, and next year we'll have $100 million in cap space, kind of like the Patriots did with that Cam Newton year. They spent all the money poorly after that, but at least it was a good idea. It was a fresh start, and the Saints just refused that fresh start, and I don't know why.
Yeah. The thing with Derek, I try not to let my agenda, the Derek Carr is perennially mediocre, influence my decision making too much. But if Derek Carr wastes Chris Olave, I will be nasty on the timeline, and you will deal with it. Chris Olave, NFL ranks in 2022. Number 8 in air yards, number 3 in air yard share, number 5 in unrealized air yards because he was playing with bummy boys at quarterback. Number 9 in, number 9 in average depth of target, number 10 in yards per route run. Derek Carr in 2022, number 5 in deep ball attempts because that man literally just does not care. Number 5 in air yards, number 2 in air yards per attempt. He's being given good wide receiver. He had one in Devontae Adams that would make him look very good. For several games, he also had Darren Waller. It's not that difficult for Derek Carr. Get the ball to Chris Olave, no matter how. And there's been a coaching change there as well. Chris Olave just has to feast. And that doesn't mean it's a good decision for Derek Carr to go to the Saints because they still have a defense, like Jack said, is aging. They were number 6 in pass DVOA last season, but probably on the decline there. Number 17 in rush DVOA, and not sure what else they're going to do to add a support staff for Chris Olave yet. They could do that in the draft, but I don't know yet. Derek Carr, just at this point of his career, you can't say that he's a great quarterback. People really didn't have room to say that about Russell Wilson either, but they did anyway. And look where that got us. So I wouldn't get too excited about the Saints. They're chalked to win the division for obvious reasons. But until we see what else is going on in that division with the Panthers, and if we still think there's heat around Lamar to the Falcons, you should bet on the Falcons now because that's plus 400. And if you think Lamar Jackson's going to the Falcons are going to win that division, not the Saints.
Look at that. If that's not worthy of going in the Louvre, I don't know art. Because that is just beautiful.
But I don't want to rain on anybody's parade here. So I'm going to apologize in advance, but it's blind resume test time. And this might have to be a segment of the show. I don't know if every week we're going to be able to get a blind resume test. So
I've done so many blind blank tests, but I've never been more excited than this.
I'm not going to be able to fool you guys because you guys are too smart. But would you guys prefer quarterback A? He ranked number 8 in accuracy rating, number 11 in true completion percentage, number 5 in true passer rating, number 21 in QBR, or quarterback B, number 14 in QBR, number 23 in true passer rating, number 26 in accuracy rating, number 30 in true completion percentage? A or B?
I know who these two people are, so
I know. I think I know who both of them are.
I
As
know
well.
who B is, and I think I know who A is. I would like to know the average depth of targets of these quarterbacks.
Oh, I don't have those stats on hand, but
Ah,
we are talking
A
about
sounds better, but it's Andy Dalton, isn't it?
It's Andy Dalton. I know
Andy
it's
Dalton
Andy
is A and Derek
And
Carr
Derek
is
Carr's
B.
Yeah, and I'm taking A. And I knew it was those two quarterbacks, and I'm taking A.
Is
No, I'm
this
just-
a
I'm just
candidate?
kidding.
Is this a candidate? And go ahead and call me crazy. Is Derek Carr this year's Matt Ryan, that we think like Matt Ryan's coming in and he's going to change the world for Michael Pittman?
Whew.
But really, it's just more of the same.
I don't think it can be that bad.
Yeah, Matt Ryan was pretty aggressively terrible.
I think
Okay.
Russell Wilson
All
is about as aggressive as you can get.
I can take that. I can take that. Maybe Carson Wentz from last year, not even Carson Wentz this year. Derek Carr is better than that.
Okay. Yeah, Andy Dalton did not throw the ball down the field that much.
And that's
will
why I think
concede
it'll
that.
help Chris Olave, because Andy Dalton didn't like to chuck it. Jameis did. He did it inaccurate often, but didn't he have 400 air yards in a game once, Chris Olave, something like that, thanks to Jameis?
412. I remember that number
Yeah.
like it happened this morning. By the way, Stuart says Stuart in the chat is asking about a surprise trade. I will say you're going to want to wait for the bold predictions segment because I prepared one for you.
Ooh.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Should we, Matt, do you want to say anything about Derek Carr, or do you want to move on to the next question? Or I know you didn't get an answer.
I'll quickly just kind of emphasize all of our Chris Olave takes. So I was pouring through receiver data from 2017, all of Player Profilers Advanced Metrics, in preparation for an article that will be dropping soon. And I stumbled upon a pretty interesting fact that puts Chris Olave in with some great company. So rookie receiver since 2017 with a 2.25 plus yards per team pass attempt, which, by the way, is a very correlative metric with fantasy points per game and a player's fantasy points per game in the next season. So this is very good news for Chris Olave. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, and Chris Olave. And rookie since 2017 with a 40% air yard share and a 25% target share, only Chris Olave. So some pretty historic opportunity and efficiency from Chris Olave in his rookie season. Puts him in some great company. I like a rookie season comparison to AJ Brown, where he didn't perform in terms of fantasy points per game the way we would expect him to. And that was mostly because of the offensive situation forced AJ Brown to kind of make all the plays for himself. Similarly, Chris Olave just failed to find the end zone. That touchdown regression is going to flip with Derek Carr, a player or a quarterback who is very familiar with force funneling targets to a particular receiver in the red zone. So Chris Olave to the absolute moon this year.
Let's go.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I think you're right. I'm a little worried, but that's, I don't know. We'll see. All right. I can't believe I have to ask this question. I should have passed this one on to Matt Babich, but this is my question. So, Ahaan, what about Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, we're going to do this, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I've spent way too many hours arguing with people on Twitter alongside Cody Carpentier about Christian Watson. There was an era in which people said Romeo Doubs was better than Christian Watson, and they were serious. So
They still say it sometimes.
People still say it sometimes, but they go to bed
That's
at
a
night
thing
and then
that
wake up and
happens.
but they go to bed at night and then wake up and realize they made bad decisions. Now we're at the point where we think that if Aaron Rodgers goes to, let's say, the New York Jets, that betting on them at plus 1,800 is good value. Like, this is the point where we're at right now. So Aaron Rodgers last year, number 12 in accuracy rating. Number 20 in deep ball completion percentage while having Christian Watson and Alan Lazard for a good number of games. I know those aren't the ideal weapons, but Christian Watson definitely helps. 67% clean pocket completion rate. That was number 26 in the NFL. Number 6 in red zone accuracy rating, number 13 in deep ball accuracy rating, number 29 in deep ball catchable pass rate, number 18 catchable pass rate when under pressure. Overall, number 47 in catchable pass rate. You can argue about whether or not Aaron Rodgers deserved back-to-back MVPs. I don't think he did. You can't argue that he's not an MVP caliber player anymore. And regardless of where Aaron Rodgers ends up, I am not overly excited about that team magically becoming an offensive, machine. I think the chance that Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay is non-negligible. I don't think it's a Lamar situation where he's definitely gone. I think there's a chance he could, come back and realize that he can make it work with Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, etc. But all I want to say on Aaron Rodgers right now is to shut down this argument that if he goes to the Jets, they're better than the Bills, which I'm hearing right now, and it's ridiculous.
No, they're not. That's silly. They're not better than the Bills if they get Aaron Rodgers. They're a playoff caliber team, but they were a playoff caliber team last year. Zach Wilson stopped them from being a playoff team. So I agree with all of that. Aaron Rodgers, if he goes to the Jets, they're a playoff team. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. They're not going to make a deep run. They're going to be fine. If he goes to the Raiders, they might not be a playoff team. They very well could miss. If he stays with the Packers, they might not be a playoff team. So I think wherever Aaron Rodgers goes, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of excitement initially. And then it's just going to be okay. It's not going to be anything special. Aaron Rodgers plays slow at this point in his career. They like to run the ball. So the Tennessee Titans are still open for him, but they might trade Derrick Henry. I really don't know where he ends up. I've gone back and forth. At first, I thought he was going to the Jets. Then I thought he was going to stay with the Packers. And now it sounds like he might be open to leaving again. But at the end of the day, I don't really think it matters that much. I think we're kind of in the post Aaron Rodgers NFL. It's a new era of the NFL. Tom Brady's gone. I don't think he's coming back, but he could. But he's gone. Phillip Rivers is gone. Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, all of these guys that were part of that era, they're all gone except for Aaron Rodgers, and I just don't think he matters that much now.
Do I really have to do this? Do I really? You guys are really gonna make me do this? 3 people all saying Aaron Rodgers is a bum.
I didn't say he's a bum.
You guys,
no, he's a bum.
He's irrelevant. He doesn't matter.
No, he's a bum.
There's no fantasy implications.
I didn't say irrelevant. I didn't say Aaron Rodgers is a running back. I said Aaron Rodgers isn't going to make the Jets a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
What does he do? What does he do for Garrett Wilson, and Elijah Moore?
Garrett Moore.
He helped Garrett Wilson for sure. Elijah Moore, it'll depend on if he's in the doghouse or not, but it'll be an upgrade for them for sure.
My point, I guess, that I'm getting at is, of course, I do agree with Ahaan and Jack in that Aaron Rodgers, given his options, is not going to put a team that far above and beyond into Super Bowl contention. The Jets are obviously his best landing spot, but I will make the argument that maybe Aaron Rodgers is not quite as dusty as Jack and Ahaan are maybe saying. So there were reports that he played with a broken thumb since week 5 on his throwing hand. If those are true, that kind of explains alongside the fact that he had very few supporting cast members that are worth a damn, that he had bad stats. Ahaan mentioned catchable pass rate. I quickly went through Aaron Rodgers' career profile. He's only surpassed 80% catchable pass rate one time since Player Profilers began tracking it, and that was in 2020. So historically, that's just not really something that he's been good at, is throwing these catchable passes consistently. But he does make the flashy throws. Just last season, 37 money throws, number 5, 8.3, number 1 adjusted yards per attempt, 111.5, number 1 true passer rating. I think there's more in his tank than he wants to let on. I think he's very drug induced. He's very relaxed, but he still has that competitive side, and I think it's there. I think we're going to see a little bit more. I think Bears fans are going to hate watching Aaron Rodgers next year, not because he's a Green Bay Packer, but just because he's succeeding somewhere. I think he goes to the Jets and makes them this year's kind of not necessarily the Seahawks, but a team where everyone says maybe they can make a run, or the Giants, maybe they can make a run, but everyone knows they don't actually have the talent to make it there. So I can't believe I have to do this. I'll let Seth go into his rant about Aaron, but I'll be the one to defend Aaron Rodgers.
All right. Well, I am hoping that Aaron Rodgers stays on the Packers, because if he stays on the Packers, that team is not that the Bears could be better than the Packers next year with all the cap space and draft picks and trading down from number 1 to get multiple ones. It's not outside the realm of possibility, because Aaron Rodgers, let me just tell you something. I cannot wait. I'm so sick of this guy. I'm so sick of him because he's not good. He's number 26 in QBR, number 12 in accuracy rate. I mean, he's an average quarterback at this point in his career, and he plays so slow for fantasy football. So if he goes to the Jets, you can bet it might be a good thing for Breece Hall. It might be a bad thing for Breece Hall. He might never throw the ball to Breece Hall. I don't know. But like, the offense is going to run at a slower pace with Aaron Rodgers. This is something that's probably going to happen if he goes to the Jets. Not good for fantasy football. He's good. I think he's going to stay with the Packers, because I don't, and maybe one of you guys can, I'll just throw this to you. Rodgers, according to Spotrac or however you say that, $99 million dead cap number. Now, if he gets traded, I mean, his cap hit number is like what, 40 million or something like that. So let's say he gets traded to the Jets. What happens there with that dead cap number? Like,
he's
that's
already
insanely high.
He's going to redo his contract no matter what. Even if he stays with the Packers, he's redoing his contract. If he gets traded, he's going to redo his contract. He said before the darkness retreat, shortly after the Lions game, that he was asked about his number. He's $53 million cap this year. What happens there? He says that number is going to come down. No matter what happens, that number will come down, which means even if he retires, which is still a possibility, I don't think it's happening, but he's still flirting with that. Even if he retires, he'll sign a contract that helps with that cap hit to help the Packers out. So I don't think the contract will prohibit him. The only thing that's going to stop Aaron Rodgers from being traded is Aaron Rodgers, because he can pull the Gronk and say, what do you mean I'm traded? I'm retired. But I think he just wants to be wanted. I think Aaron Rodgers just wants to be loved. And that's why the Jets fly. Don't we all?
Well, the Jets aren't they in the negative with cap? So how
they can free that up really easily. They're technically still in the negative, but cutting Corey Davis puts them. Actually, they might be in the positive now after the CJ Uzomah restructure. Okay. But cutting Corey Davis, that puts them in the green instantly. Extending Quinnen Williams gives them about $10 million in cap space. There's easy moves that they can make to save money.
All right. Yeah, I mean, Harry Snowman, you know it. I did say it. I will continue to say it. I cannot wait till this guy is gone from the NFL for fantasy, for the just
for your mental health.
Yeah, for my mental health. He's such a I want to be here, but I don't. And then I mean, I don't know. I do hate Rodgers. It's true.
Stuart says Carr or Rodgers.
Oh my god!
In case that was not clear. In case that was not clear.
Yeah, Rodgers is better than Carr.
Yeah, I would. Oh my god! I'm gonna take Carr because I don't like Rodgers. All right. Good analysis on this show. Let's see. Harry Snowman. Yeah, they could. Yeah, in the NFL contracts, they can always push stuff into the future for sure. All right, guys. I think it's time. I think Matt Babich has a question for you guys, and
I do.
Well, actually, sorry, I screwed that up.
I guess
we'll give you guys some time to plug whatever, because I've screwed with the show sheet, so it's my fault.
Hold on. You're skipping
what
ahead. You were right. You got to stick with your gut, Seth. You were right.
Oh,
We got
what
one
did I
more.
do?
We got one more question left.
Oh,
on the
okay.
show
You go.
sheet.
You
We got
go
one more
ahead.
question left of the show sheet.
Yeah.
So over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be, there's a lot of stuff that's going to go on. There's going to be the approaching of the free agency period. You know, we got the draft coming up relatively soon. So what's a team that we're not hearing a lot of reports about? What's a move that we're not hearing a lot of reports about? Ahaan, feel free to save your bold prediction for the bold prediction. But what's a team that's going to surprise us with a move in the next couple of weeks, Jack?
Giants. I think the Giants are going to make some big splashes, both possibly in the trade market, but definitely in free agency, because they still have a lot of money to spend. They've got dollars to throw around, and they need it with Daniel Jones as their quarterback. He's only $19 million against the cap this year. That continues to go up year after year. Really, this is a 2-year deal for Daniel Jones, but in order to figure out if he's even worth keeping, because he could be. Daniel Jones could be worth that 3rd and 4th year. But to figure that out, you cannot run it back with his top 3 receivers as Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, and Richie James. I would love if they re-signed Darius Slayton and Richie James. They just can't be wide receiver 1, 2, and 3. They gotta add some explosive talent there alongside Daniel Jones. Gotta give him someone other than the corpse of Kenny Golladay to throw the ball to. And if they do that, when they do that, I think the Giants are going to surprise some people next year. I think it's weird because they were always the team. They're overachieving. This team isn't that good. Look at the roster. And it's still the same roster. A lot of those players are back and they've got the money to actually upgrade. So I am excited about the New York Giants. I think they make a big splash, whether it's the wide receiver market, whether it's the draft. Giants are going big.
I love that, and it fits right in with what I said a few weeks ago about getting some Giants action for 2023 playoffs. But I'll pivot to a team that people have only been talking about in the context of last year's team for good reason. It's the Eagles. So the Eagles have arguably, well, I would say a top 2 wide receiver duo in the league. And they have paired them with a top 10, arguably top 5 quarterback in the league in Jalen Hurts. But Eagles fans will still talk about Quez Watkins and how he was not it at wide receiver 3. They have issues to deal with on defense with people probably out the door. We see teammates on Instagram commenting on each other's posts for the Eagles about seeing them go already when the move hasn't been official yet. But I think the Eagles make some noise on offense and get themselves one of those free agent wide receivers. They're around middle of the pack in cap space, and I think they spend some of it on offense. This wide receiver class is not very deep. Jacoby Myers is by far the best name on it. Once you go down from Jacoby Myers, it's Juju and then Darius Slayton and company. But they do feel the need, especially with some pressure from Eagles fans, to get Quez Watkins off the field, because this man was one of the worst third option wide receivers. Not their third option, their fourth option, but third option wide receivers in the league. And he cost them by not making some tough catches that would have put some games away, including one in the Super Bowl. So I do think they make some moves on offense, which nobody's talking about right now.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what the Cincinnati Bengals are going to do, because they're sitting at the 5th most cap space right now, and they were so close to getting to the Super Bowl this past year. And, there's a field goal game with the Chiefs on the road. And I think, the Chiefs, I was really surprised they didn't franchise tag Orlando Brown. I mean, they must know something I don't, because it's really hard to find a left tackle in the league, and he played pretty well in the Super Bowl. So that's something I was really surprised by. So I'm intrigued to see what the Chiefs are going to do too. But you guys know I got to talk about my Bears, the number 1 pick, all that cap space. And this is not a 1-year rebuild. This is a multi-year rebuild for the Bears. So Bears fans, just hang in there. We'll see. They should be able to do enough to figure out if Justin Fields is the guy or not, because I still think there's some questions to be answered there, especially with his downfield accuracy and passing. So they're going to find out the answer to that question for sure, and whether or not they're going to pay Justin Fields in the future. But as a Bears fan, this is an exciting offseason for us, and it's a crucial offseason with the number 1 pick, with all that cap space, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see what they do.
Think they go after DeAndre Hopkins?
I think Hopkins wants to play for I think Jack said earlier in the show. I think Hopkins I could see Hopkins going to the Chiefs or
Giants.
like Giants or contender. Somebody he thinks. That's why I don't think the Bears are gonna get Hopkins.
I think they get
but I would love.
Bears.
I think that makes a lot more sense. Yeah,
That's giving me my segue. I do think they push to sign Jacoby Myers. If that happens, that kind of seals the deal on the Patriots being a lost organization. You finally find a receiver that you draft, and well, you didn't really draft him. He was undrafted, but they keep doing this. The Patriots keep doing this where they're like, hey, Mr. Guy we drafted late in the draft or didn't even draft at all, found as an undrafted free agent. We're really going to value you, and then we're going to let you walk without any plan as to how to replace you. And they've done it time and time and again. They've gotten lucky a couple of times. They got lucky with Jonathan Jones. He's going to walk. They got lucky with Jacoby Myers. He's probably going to walk. So the Patriots putting themselves in a dangerous position there. Chicago's definitely going to be looking to make a move. There's going to be teams looking to make a move for Lamar Jackson. But I like all those options there. And I think Chicago is a name that we're going to see popping up at the headlines real soon, especially with that number 1 pick.
Harry Snowman says he has a dream of that Cincinnati drafts Bijan. I said 2 weeks ago that Cincinnati would draft Jahmyr Gibbs, so I don't hate it.
Yeah,
I don't hate that at all.
I would put that.
Where do they draft Bijan?
First round.
Are they drafting a first round running back? Because then I don't like it.
Yeah. That's. We're gonna get another first round running back this year, guys, aren't we? Bijan. It's gonna be Bijan.
No doubt, it's gonna be Bijan.
Cody's mock draft has Bijan going in the first round.
I am not in Minnesota, Stuart. Not. I'm in Missouri. There's some questions here. What do you guys think? Rodgers or Tom Brady if he comes out of retirement?
Rodgers
has more in the tank, but Tom Brady's easier to root for. I will be rooting harder for Tom Brady, but Rodgers is the better option.
Tom Brady has more Botox than blood flowing through his bloodstream right now.
Yeah, he probably does. I don't understand. Shorter. Maybe I'm just ignorant. I don't.
The wide receiver on the Florida roster, Justin Shorter.
Okay.
Oh, Justin Shorter, not that bad 5-star coming out of high school.
He's in the draft this year.
I'll eat my crow on Justin Shorter if I must.
He's not a star or anything. He's fine. He'll be a day 3 wide receiver more than likely. But Chris is correct. It was much more to do with Dan Mullen and the new transition to coaching. They did no favors for Anthony Richardson with that offense.
And is that it? I think that's it.
Number 4, athleticism.
Short
receiver class, Justin Shorter. I apologize. I got to put some respect on his name.
Thank you, Harry Snowman.
He did not run a 4.7.
Maybe you need to go a little longer on Justin Shorter.
4.5.
Ooh, okay. We can get Ahaan off the show now.
There's the comment. There's the comment. Yeah. I hope they don't. Cincinnati should not draft Bijan. I think they're just fine. Like just Samaje and then draft like Eric Gray or I don't know what, like that probably wouldn't be a good, just like a pass catching running back to complement Pete. Like just go RB running back by committee. That'd be fine. Anyway, so it's that time of the show. It's about time for us to wrap up. I want to give you guys time to plug your stuff and then give us a bold prediction. So this week, that's a little tweak we're making. Plug your stuff and then give us a bold prediction and we will get out of here. And we'll start with you, Ahaan. Plug your stuff, bold prediction.
So, as I mentioned last week, I'm bringing other sports to Player Profiler content. I will be bringing back with the Podfather and some friends such as Shervan Fakimi. I will be bringing back the Juice Betting Show. We will have at least one show before the NFL draft, and we'll get a rhythm starting from there to talk about best bets for the draft, futures for 2023. But also there will be written content and podcast content on the MLB season for those of you that want some baseball in your life. And Underdog just opened up their NBA playoff best ball tournament, and I'm doing research around that, and we'll have some written content on that soon. So look out for 2 additional sports at least coming to Player Profiler, and we still need Matt Babich to get on the ice, show us what he's got there. But that's what I'm bringing. As for my bold prediction, we were asked in the chat earlier today about trades. And last year we saw AJ Brown getting traded on draft night while me and Dario were on the live stream that Player Profiler was doing during the draft. And the news broke while we were on stream. And that was super cool to be a part of. I don't know if it's as crazy and this happens on draft day, but I say it does happen in the offseason. The Tennessee Titans have quietly thrown Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill in the whole trade rumor cloud. And my bold prediction is that both get traded. Ryan Tannehill goes to the Las Vegas Raiders because that is their brand. They just want to get in another below average quarterback to make Josh McDaniels attempt something that's really not possible, which is try to get this garbage roster into the playoffs. It's going to be an even worse failure than when Derek Carr was on the team last year, but they're going to attempt something. And I don't know why they would, but it's on brand for them to go and get Ryan Tannehill. And then the one we were all waiting for, Derrick Henry does get traded to a team that threw their hat in the ring. Is that the phrase? Ring in the hat, hat in the ring, whatever the phrase is.
Hat in the ring.
They threw their hat in the ring for Christian McCaffrey, but did not land him because San Francisco landed him. The Buffalo Bills get Derrick Henry because Devin Singletary is just not it.
Wow. Bold of you to say that Devin Singletary is not very good at football.
Oh, that was good. That was good. Would they actually run the ball with Derrick Henry though, or would they just continue to throw it every single play?
I mean, they need someone to distract from Josh Allen diving in the end zone, even if they even allow that in the NFL next year.
Here's a question we should just ask about anything.
Is he
right?
better than Gabe Davis?
But is he better than Gabe Davis?
Anytime we mention a player that we trash talk, just put that up on the screen.
But is he better than Gabe Davis?
Justin Shorter, is he better than Gabe Davis? Probably.
Give me Justin Shorter. Gabe Davis did not post the number 4 athleticism score in his class.
Anyway, Edward DeLauder, biggest Gabe Davis stan. Jack, what's on your docket and what's your bold prediction?
Well, you can still catch me 7 days a week at 7 p.m. Eastern every single day, all off season long, all regular season long. You can find me everywhere at Cavanagh87 on the socials, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. You'll find my face on the at Road to Underworld account, at Profiler_NFL account. You'll see me all sorts of places. They really can't get rid of me. They invited me in, and now it's just every single day you get to see Jack. As for my bold prediction, we were talking earlier about DeAndre Hopkins and him getting traded and where he's going to go. One thing DeAndre Hopkins made known today was that he's willing to redo his contract to make it happen. So he's not chasing that bag. He's not looking for a big extension with a trade. He wants to go somewhere that he can compete, somewhere that he believes is going to compete for a Super Bowl, because he's never been close. With the Houston Texans toiled away there, the Arizona Cardinals toiled away there. So now I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be traded to the Dallas Cowboys. Go and create a awesome pairing with CeeDee Lamb. Wide receiver 3 is now Michael Gallup. Doesn't matter that they lost Dalton Schultz because Jake Ferguson is pretty much linear to him. And the Dallas Cowboys are going to be competing, maybe not for a Super Bowl, but they're going to be deep in the playoffs after trading for DeAndre Hopkins.
Wow, I'm speechless. It
Back
could
to
be
Texas.
the most shocking bold prediction we've had on this show in terms of something that is both bold but also very achievable. So I applaud you for that. That would be quite the encore to signing Zeke to another long-term extension. Am I right? Get the whole band back together.
Oh, yes, please. Do it. Do it now.
You
If
guys
anyone-
are peeing all over my Jackson Smith and Jigba to the Cowboys via a trade up parade from, what was it, last week?
I'm down for that. They
Yeah,
get that.
man,
That
I-
still works.
Either way, that's Jerry Jones. I could
Hopkins
yeah,
outside,
do
and then
that.
on the other outside is now CD Lamb. Jackson Smith and Jigba kicks CD Lamb from the slot to outside. Michael Gallup now wide receiver 4. I can dig it.
Boom.
All right, Jerry
Boom.
Jones, known listener of the show, just heard the key to his team's success. So expect that all to go down.
Yeah, he's writing that down right now. It's like, oh, trade up for JSN and trade for Hopkins. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
For me, I teased some of my work here throughout the show, but I have a franchise tag breakdown, winners and losers, that'll be dropping soon. I have I have a series where I'm breaking down the featured metrics for player profilers, advanced stats and metrics on the player pages. So receivers is coming really soon, and then we'll wrap up with tight ends and quarterbacks after that. So stay with your eyes peeled for that. And then just cooking up some ideas with Seth behind the scenes. Met with Aaron yesterday to talk some YouTube, some thumbnails, SEO. So we're going to be bringing you the biggest this offseason with the Writers Roundtable. So it's time to get excited. For a bold prediction, I'm going to resurface it. I'm going to have 2 because I don't necessarily think the first one is as bold as it used to be. But if you go on the newly released player profiler staff pages, you go to my page, my first linked article is from my free agency breakdown, January 7th, 2023. I suggested that it may be more likely than people think that Lamar Jackson gets a non-exclusive franchise tag, and I posited 3 teams that may trade for Lamar Jackson on this exclusive franchise or on this non-exclusive franchise tag. The first team I listed, the Detroit Lions, can cut. They're in an interesting spot because a lot of teams with cap casualties, they're a post-June 1st cut candidate. A lot of candidates are post-June 1st cut candidates. They can cut Jared Goff right now and vault up $20 million in their cap savings for 2023, and that would make them third in the bankroll in terms of cap space for 2023. They have 3 first-round picks over the next 3 years. They have plenty of capital to get this done. I know they said they're vocal about Jared Goff, but come on. It's like, I know I love my Corolla, but if someone came up to me and was like, hey, would you like this Ferrari? I wouldn't be like, well, I get pretty good mileage on my Corolla and I already got it. I'm like, no, you're taking the Ferrari. You're saying, thanks. I don't know why you want to get rid of this so badly, but I'll take it if you don't want it. The Detroit Lions are going to trade for Lamar Jackson. That is my bold prediction number 1. Bold prediction number 2, this one's a little sillier, but as a Boilermaker, I teased this man a couple of pause. As a Boilermaker, I said a few weeks ago that Charlie Jones was a sleeper in this year's draft class, and he went out at the combine and ran a 4.43. I was a little shocked when he decided to opt out of the Senior Bowl. More, kind of this guy running around like he Pac. Charlie Jones thinks he's him, and apparently he went out and tested as if he's him. Cody Carpentier talked about his scoring system for running routes at the combine, or that he shares with Roster Watch. But Charlie Jones excelled in the route running drills, and I mean excelled. Was one of the only receivers with a perfect score on the gauntlet. Charlie Jones is going to get day 2 draft capital because of his showing and because of his senior year.
And his experience with the Iowa Hawkeyes before he transferred to Purdue. But
oh, yes, of course. That's
right.
where everyone knows him from.
Yeah,
Returning
that's where he
developed.
That's where he developed. All right. Lord, we got some stuff in the chat. I messed up on P. Ryan. He is a pass catcher. somewhat. Yeah, 30. Didn't he have like, I don't know, 38, 30 receptions? I don't know exactly. I'm off the top of my head. Go Bears. That's right. I think maybe we are going to avoid Rashad White on this show. Maybe. We'll see.
Oh, we did until Aaron brought him
show's,
up.
The show's not over yet, Aaron. Well, I still got a bold prediction to go. You never know. Bengals select Rashawn. That would be better. See, that would be better. You get him in the third
I would
round.
love that.
Right? Third round for Rashawn Johnson. Bengals. Jack, you approve of that?
Sign me up for Roshan to the Bengals. Yes.
Dude, that would be great. Yeah.
Top 5 10-yard split. I don't care about the 40. I care about that 10-yard split. Elite from Roshan Johnson.
I don't know what he's referring to. Maybe
The
trading
Lions
for
trade
Lamar.
I disagree with Space Monkey.
Space Monkey Mafia is not a big fan of trading for Lamar. I think if the opportunity is there with this team that you've assembled over the last couple of years, they've built the right way. They build it the right way. Lamar makes you in the NFC a Super Bowl contender. Book it. My bold prediction, since I go last, Matt stole Charlie Jones from me.
Really?
Like I have to go down. Yeah,
that's crazy. Of all people, I steal Charlie Jones for a bold
because
take.
Cody. I mean, I listened to Cody. Anyway. I think here we go. I don't know if this is bold. Maybe we'll start mild and get to the bold stuff. I think Orlando Brown is going to work out a contract in Kansas City. I think he's too valuable to that team for them to let him get away. And I think they cut Frank Clark. They freed up some cap space there. So I think they're going to have the ability to get that done. But I think it's really, really interesting that they didn't tag him. And that makes me think that they're probably trying to work out a long-term deal with them because they've already tagged him once before. I think that the next time we do this show, there's going to be some craziness that happens because it's going to be that March 15th date, right? Because they can tamper from March 13th to 15th or whatever. So there's going to be some bombshells, and watch out for the Bears to just completely overhaul their offensive line, because Ryan Poles was in Kansas City the year that, Kansas City's offensive line fell apart in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. And he's a former offensive lineman himself. He realizes the importance of that position, and that is going to be the priority for the Bears. Do not be surprised if you remember the year the Bengals did it too. They signed like 2 or 3 offensive linemen in free agency. I think that's what the Bears are going to do. Like Donovan Smith, he's available now. That would be nice. Mike McGlinchey, also a free agent. And then the center position. I know they signed Lucas Patrick last year, but Connor McGovern's a free agent, decent center. So there's some names out here that they could sign, and I think they're going to make some splashes because they have all that money. And that, I don't know if it's bold, but you guys, I had Lamar to the Lions, so anyway, we're all on the same page, man. This is uncanny, but yes, Charlie football, man.
Charlie freaking football. We're gonna be saying that come rookie camps. There's gonna be a team. D. Eskridge got first round draft capital. Anything is possible.
Yeah, Cody has him at 98 to the Browns right now in his mock, which you should go read after the show. So I'll plug that. Oh yeah, that'll be my plug. Go read Cody's mock draft.
I would rather not see two Purdue receivers go to die in Cleveland, but that's just my opinion.
All right. Any final words of wisdom for the stream?
Go Lions.
Go Bears. Well, first, I don't have to say it.
Is that wisdom, though?
On. Mr. Babich said it.
Eric DaCosta should be ashamed of himself.
Yes, he should.
That's the show.